this is my ELA Learning Center, and I chose the topic homophones. And so I'll just start off with the standards that I chose. So the standards can be for second or first grade. I found them in both for homophones, but I've chosen first grade to do this center on, but I just decided to put both on here. The standard is that within context of authentic English writing and speaking. And so it says to introduce correctly used common homophones, example 222, there. And then the specific content area that I want to practice with my students is the produce complete sentences and shared language activities. So those are my two standards, and the grade that I decided to do this for is first grade. So my students are to first come over here, and they are going to read the to-do list. The to-do list is what they're going to always come back to when they are finished with each activity, because it will tell them what to do next. So first it says, read the to-do list that is provided. So this is labeled number 1, so it goes with number 1, so they know where to go. So then they're going to read this whole entire to-do list, and then they go to number 2, which is go to the activity labeled number 2 and read the definition of a homophone. So right here it tells you what the definition of a homophone is, so students will know what they're learning. And then they come back here and go to the activity labeled number 3 and complete the writing worksheet. So right here is my writing worksheet activity. So I have the instructions labeled right here, and then this is the worksheet that follows. So for this activity, students are to pick a pair of homophones and illustrate a picture of each word, and then create a sentence that has the word in it. So students will put, for example, like the first one will do flour and flour. So they put the flour as baking flour, and then the flour as a plant right there. They'll write it in that box, and then they'll draw a picture of it, and then write one complete sentence. And that's where we come back to that content skill that we're going to practice writing complete sentences. So that is my third activity for the writing activity. And then number 4, or they're going to come back over here and then go to the 4th activity, which is the reading worksheet, or the reading activity. So students are going to first read this book about the different twos there are. So this is TO, TOO, and then TWO. So then they'll read that, and then that will give them what they need to fill this worksheet out. So this helps students also not only like learn their homophones, but also helps them write out each word. And it's helping their reading skills because they're reading each sentence in this. Okay, so then students are going to go back, and since they finished number 4, they're going to go to number 5, and it says go to the activity labeled number 5 and you will need your iPad. So right here I'll have students will have their iPads, and then they are to read the directions first, where it says grab your iPad, click on the app that looks like this, and then you are to match homophones together, you are to play individually. So students are going to grab their iPad, and this is the game that they're going to play. So you can only play with one player at first, and you press start, and it's a matching game. So students are to match each homophone, so deer, and then they try to find the other deer. So that's just a fun game that will help them with their skills on homophones, and it's also kind of fun just to get technology involved. So number 6 is go to the activity labeled number 6 and pick one of the homophone books to read. So right here is my book list of the 10 books that I decided to put up here. I wrote the book and underlined it, and then I did the author. And then these are my 3 trade books that I decided to pick. So students will first read these books in the reading center, and then once they finish these, they can go back and read one of these, or if they just have to finish these 3 and then they can mark it off. But if they want to, they can read more than one or more than the 3. So that's the number 6 reading center. And then number 7 is it says to go to the activity labeled number 7 and follow the directions that are provided. So these are the directions that are provided, and it tells you exactly what to do. And this is my manipulative activity. So students are to use these sheets, these charts, and then my manipulatives are these clothespins. And so it tells you exactly what the instructions are right here. And then students are to read this and say, who gave the red rose? And then you would put it right here. Oops. And then they can turn it over, and it will tell them if they're right or wrong. So that's the activity I chose to do with manipulatives. And so that's number 7, and then they would come over here and then go to number 8. So number 8 is our choice board. So I have created a choice board that has 6 different activities on it for them. And this is more for after they're done, or when they have nothing to do and they ask you what to do. It has so this doesn't really have anything to do with the literary center. It just mainly has to do with what they can do once they're done with everything in the literacy center. So it has 6 different options of what they can do, just something that keeps their brain going and thinking of what homophones are, and how to write complete sentences, because a lot of them have to do with complete sentences and just working on their writing in general. So that was number 8, and then we get to number 9, which is go to the activity labeled number 9 and complete the student checklist. So this is the checklist that I have provided for my students, and the directions are right here for what they should do. So once they finish each activity, they will color it in green because they have completed it. But if we wrap up early and they're not done, then they would do yellow because they're in progress, or else they would write in red because they have not finished it yet. So that's just a good way for students to visualize and gauge where they are at and where they need to get to. I really liked the idea of a checklist. And then here are my materials that I have provided for students, which would be like a pencil, colored pencils and markers for their this worksheet where they need to illustrate. But overall, that is my Homophone Literacy Center for first graders.